Hi, welcome to Speciality Trees. We're doing a series of videos to talk a little bit about us, but a lot about trees. The last 5 years at least, we've been looking at our palette of plants, about what our offer looks like. We've taken out a number of different species that we don't think will survive for the purpose that they're with. We're still growing Acer palmatums, the Japanese maples, and they're not really suitable for our current climate, but they're in microclimates within the cityscape and within high value landscapes. They're very valuable. But in streets and urban parks and those sorts of areas, the palette of plants that we're trying to offer for those has changed. So we're looking towards tougher, more resilient trees in those spaces. So pistachios and melias and those colorateria are three examples come to mind in that space, and there are numerous ones in the native and evergreen section as well that we're looking to grow more of, so that we're actually offering a better product. So that suits our customers' needs far more, and so we're trying to engage with the customer about what they should be planting. And whether that's our role or not, I'm not sure, but our role as a nursery is to provide trees that are going to last in the longer term. So if there are trees that you want to be grown, or you think that we should be growing, we're more than happy to do that. And we're entering into some agreements with some of our customers now, so into some partnerships with them, and actually growing some unusual varieties. And that's challenging for us, because we've actually got to get it right. But we are starting to grow some unusual varieties for them to see how they perform in the landscape, and we're even going to the point where we're selecting provenance and all those sorts of things as well, so that we're actually improving those varieties. Well, what we think is going to improve them. For example, an example of that is to take Eucalyptus melliodora seed from further north rather than the local seed here in southern Victoria. We might take it from northern or Victoria, or even central New South Wales, and so bring those provenances down, so that those trees that are already adapted to that climate are going to perform better in that space. Speciality trees, over the last 10 years or so, we've been looking at different varieties of trees, or different selections of trees, and we've got codes for those in our system. So ST1, ST2, ST3, so speciality trees 1, 2, 3, and so on. They're varieties that we've actually selected and tried to bring those into our production process, so that we know where the provenance has come from, we know where that seed has come from, we know where that genetic material has come from, and so we can actually weave that into our systems here. Examples of those are the Corymbia maculata ST1 is one that we call Luana, and what we did was selected a maculata from the Henry I form and from the Victorian Ranges form, and that is a much broader selection than the northern forms, much better branch structure and much better branch attachment, and quite tolerant to heat and to dry periods. But this was a much smaller form, so we went and selected a tree that was less than 10 metres high and about 8 metres wide. So it was a small squat form of maculata, and then we brought that into our production process. Initially we grafted it. We have had seed offered as well, so seedlings offered as well, and so that's actually performed exceptionally well for us. And that tree is definitely a smaller form of Corymbia maculata. And we also, at the same time, we selected out a massive tree. It was a magnificent tree, very similar from a quite a close nearby stand of trees. And this was a maculata we called Tumba in the end, ST2 Tumba, and Tumba means big shade, and that's what we really wanted was a tree that was going to provide big shade. So this tree was massive. It was 30 metres high by 25 metres wide, big trunk, really good park tree or centre road sort of tree that would cast a big shade, and we're so we were selecting those sorts of trees. We've also selected out Lophostomus, we've selected out Leucoxylons, we've selected out a whole range of Brachychitons. So we've been doing quite a broad selection of trees that we think are going to be climate ready, if you like, that are going to perform in the climate that's coming, but in a way that is predictable. So what we're trying to do is to get trees that we can rely on their performance in a similar way that a lot of the exotic ones have been selected out. We want to do the same thing with our native trees, so that we can get a bit more predictability about them, and so that we can, if we want a smaller maculata, because that's what we're looking for in that space, we've actually got an offer for that. If we want a narrower Lophostomus, then we've got an offer for that. If we want a broader Lophostomus, we've got an offer for that, and so on. So that in these streets and parks, and even in peri-urban landscapes, we've got this option for trees in a variety of ways. So specialty trees has been expanding pretty rapidly over the last 12 years. It's been under the current management, under mine and my team's management for the last 14 years now. And we've been very focused on broadening our range. So, and from a security point of view as well. One of the issues that we were hit with a hailstorm very early in the piece, and that wiped out our stock here at Maribyrnong East in Melbourne. And we really thought about that a lot, and how we can, because of climate change, we're going to have more of these events. And so how do we insure ourselves? How do we protect ourselves from those sorts of events, but actually give a better offer going forward as well? So we looked at another site here in Narre Warren, which was slightly separated by topography and different things. So we've now got the site at Wellington Road is a southern facing site, and the one at Boundary Road is a north facing site. So we've got these two climates that we can manipulate and manage and create an offer for. And so we grow trees that are going to be in hotter zones on the north facing, and the bigger trees on the southern facing, and so on. So we've got this opportunity of mixing it up a little bit, particularly for when we're growing things under contract and so on. And we also work extensively with a business in Benalla, and they were growing a lot of stock up there for us for advanced deciduous trees. So they grow them in the ground up there. We would do all the pruning and the maintenance and looking after them, and go up and help them dig, and we did this for the last 10 years. And they were starting to talk about retirement. So we actually took that, we've actually taken that site on as our own now. And at that site, we've got our own managers and things up there now. But it gives us a totally different climate to grow trees in, and it's a real benefit for us. We're still growing our advanced deciduous stock in the ground there, and we dig it in Benalla, and then we wash the roots totally. So we're not mining the soil. What we want to do is grow and sell trees, not soil. So we actually dig the trees, we wash them out up there, so we keep the soil on site. Bring the trees down, we pot them up here within about 48 hours. They're potted up and online here, and then so we do that in July. By Christmas time, they're fully locked up and they're growing and they're beautiful again. And we've already got this established tree, and it's much easier to do that for an in-ground specimen where we can control the management of that. But that opportunity at Benalla really gives us a different climate zone and a different process to what we're doing. So we're actually sending a lot of stock from Narre Warren up there. We grow it out over the summer and bring it back before the first frosts. We do that a lot with our hedging lines, and it gives us a totally different product and a different process around that. But we're also doing a lot of junior stock up there too, so we're doing a lot of in-ground stock. Gives us different markets we can talk to and things, but it also gives us opportunity to grow for that northern Victoria and southern New South Wales climate zones, and that's really exciting. So we can actually grow it in a tougher zone. For example, in the western suburbs of Melbourne is much tougher to grow stock for that market than it is in the eastern side of Melbourne. So growing stock at Benalla for those western suburbs of Melbourne and even Adelaide and southern New South Wales. It really gives us a different product that is much more suitable for that those tougher zones.
Supply into regional Victoria is quite easy for us now that we have our Benalla site in northeast Victoria. So this means that we have better access to that country area and all the councils within that area and around that space. We regularly have our trucks going to Benalla and back, so we have a number of vehicles that we can use to be able to deliver to all that regional area in Victoria. Also, we go out to the western side of Victoria with our own vehicles, so there's plenty of scope to be able to deliver for when stock's required to meet needs and deadlines, so that we can have everything there for when it's required for planting. We have a number of different relationships and ways that we can supply stock into the council areas. We have a number of councils that we work directly with and we can help them with all their needs, but we also have quite a few councils that we deal with the contractors that do the planting for them and also placing orders for their stock. So we're quite flexible in helping everyone through the different ways that they order their stock and what is actually required for their stock.